In the quiet stretch of rural Kansas, 2007 was just another year marked by endless fields of corn and wide open skies. But for the Archer family, this particular summer day would change everything. Dean Archer, a sturdy man of 36 with calloused hands and a weathered face from years working on farms and trucks, was outside their modest home. The driveway was dusty, scattered with tools, and Dean's old pickup truck sat idle, waiting for repairs. He wiped sweat from his brow, squinting at the engine, frustrated by a stubborn problem he just couldn't figure out. Inside, his wife Linda was in the kitchen, pouring lemonade into a glass. The cool liquid was a small relief from the heavy heat outside. She called out softly, "Dean, want some lemonade?" He grunted a thanks without looking up. Linda wiped her hands on her apron and stepped outside, balancing the glass carefully. The sun beat down hard, and a gentle breeze whispered through the tall grass. When Linda returned to the driveway, something was wrong. Dean was gone. His tools, once spread around the truck, had vanished too. No sign of him anywhere, no footsteps in the dirt, no nearby car or truck leaving. It was as if the earth had swallowed him whole. Linda's heart pounded. She called his name again, louder this time, her voice cracking. No answer. The neighbors were miles away, and cell phones were still a luxury not everyone had. The only sounds were the rustling cornfields and the creak of the old wooden porch. That evening the police arrived, and the search began, but Dean Archer had disappeared without a trace. The days after Dean's disappearance stretched into a haze of fear and confusion. Linda sat on the creaky porch every morning, staring down the empty driveway as if willing her husband to return. The once familiar truck sat untouched, a silent monument to a day that shattered their lives. Neighbors joined the search, combing through fields and woodlands, calling out Dean's name until their voices were hoarse. The local sheriff organized patrols, but the landscape was vast and unforgiving. There was no sign, no footprints, no dropped tools, no clue, just the echo of silence where Dean had last stood. Linda's mind raced with questions she dared not voice aloud. Had Dean been taken? Had he run away? Or worse? Each theory tormented her, but the truth remained elusive, buried beneath layers of uncertainty. She clung to memories, his laugh, the way he tucked their daughter Emily into bed, the quiet strength that held their family together. But the longer he was gone, the heavier the emptiness became. Weeks passed, then months, and still no answers. The community whispered, some offering sympathy, others suspicious glances. Rumors began to swirl. Was Dean involved in something dangerous? Had he disappeared by choice? The unknown bred fear and suspicion in equal measure. Linda refused to give up. Every night she would sit by the window, phone in hand, waiting for a call that never came. She kept Dean's favorite tools in the garage untouched, hoping that one day he might return and find them just as he left. But as the seasons changed, so did the quiet desperation in the Archer home. Dean was gone, and no one could say why. Years slipped by like fading shadows, but Linda's hope never wavered. Emily grew from a toddler into a curious girl, her innocent questions about her father piercing Linda's heart daily. "Where is Dad?" Emily would ask, her wide eyes searching the empty spaces he once filled. Linda would swallow the lump in her throat and answer as gently as she could, "He's somewhere far away, sweetheart, but we'll find him someday." The old truck remained parked in the driveway, a silent witness to the passage of time. Dean's tools, now gathering dust, were a bittersweet reminder of that scorching afternoon when everything changed. Then, in the winter of 2013, the unexpected happened. At a salvage yard miles away, a worker named Mike was tasked with clearing out the Archer truck before it was crushed and scrapped. The truck had sat abandoned for years, forgotten by the world. As Mike cleaned under the passenger seat, his gloved hand brushed something unusual. A slim object wedged tightly beneath the torn lining. Pulling it free, he found a smartphone, its screen cracked and dusty. Mike flipped it on, surprised when the device powered up despite its obvious age. A single message blinked on the screen in the drafts folder, dated April 2025, more than a decade into the future. The text read, "They came from under the ground. Don't open the—" The rest was corrupted, scrambled beyond recognition. Mike stared in disbelief. How could a phone lost in 2007 contain a message time-stamped nearly 2 decades later? And who or what was coming from under the ground? Back in Kansas, Linda felt a chill when she heard the news. Could this be a clue? Or a cruel trick? Questions swirled like dust storms around her mind. The mystery of Dean's disappearance was far from over. In fact, it seemed to be only beginning. When Mike, the salvage yard worker, brought the cracked phone to the local sheriff's office, the atmosphere grew tense. Sheriff Dalton, a man known for his skepticism and steady hand, studied the device with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. "No SIM card. Battery's almost dead," he muttered, trying to make sense of the strange message. How does a phone with no service have a draft from 2025? This doesn't add up. Linda was called to the station, her hands trembling as she held the phone for the first time since it vanished years ago. Her fingers traced the cracked screen, eyes fixed on the ominous words. "They came from under the ground. Don't open the—" Her breath caught. Could this be Dean reaching out? Was this a warning? The corrupted ending left a gnawing emptiness, a puzzle piece missing. The sheriff promised to look deeper, though he warned Linda it might be a hoax or glitch. But Linda knew better. That night, she sat in the dark, clutching the phone. The house felt colder, heavier, as if the walls themselves whispered secrets buried deep beneath the soil around them. She wondered what Dean had uncovered that day in 2007. Was he digging into something he shouldn't have? Had the earth swallowed him to keep a terrible secret hidden? And now, 6 years later, a message from the future suggested that whatever it wasn't finished with them yet. Linda's world had shifted. The disappearance was no longer just a painful loss. It was a warning, a mystery threaded with shadows that reached far beyond the simple Kansas farmhouse. Linda couldn't shake the image of Dean's old truck sitting in the driveway, the same truck that had become a prison for the mysterious phone. She replayed the last moments she remembered, desperate to find a clue she'd missed. That afternoon in 2007, Dean had seemed distracted. Normally methodical and calm, that day he was agitated, glancing toward the fields beyond their property, as if expecting something, or someone. He muttered about strange noises from beneath the ground, something crawling, something alive. Linda had laughed nervously, thinking it was just stress. But now, those words echoed hauntingly in her mind. Dean's toolbox had been open, scattered with wrenches and screwdrivers, but some of his equipment was missing. He'd been working on the truck's undercarriage, near the gas tank, close to the spot where Mike found the phone. Had Dean discovered something buried in the earth beneath their land? Something dangerous? Linda remembered the old well behind the barn, long sealed and forgotten. Dean had joked about reopening it. "Maybe I'll find treasure, or a ghost," he'd said with a grin. But that afternoon, his smile had been forced, his eyes dark. The message on the phone now made chilling sense. "They came from under the ground." What if Dean had stumbled on something? Creatures, secrets, something ancient that should have stayed buried. She resolved to visit the property herself, to look beneath the surface of their quiet farm and uncover the truth about that terrible day. With the phone's cryptic message haunting her thoughts, Linda knew she couldn't wait for answers to come to her. She had to confront the unknown head-on. One cold morning, she stepped onto the overgrown land behind the house, the crisp air biting at her skin. Emily clung to her side, sensing her mother's tension, but too young to understand the weight it carried. The old barn stood like a forgotten sentinel, its wood splintered and worn by time. Linda's gaze fell on the ground near the sealed well, its heavy metal cover still rusted shut. She knelt, brushing away leaves and dirt, her fingers trembling. Something was beneath the earth here, but what? Nearby, the soil looked disturbed, as if something had recently shifted it. Strange, almost circular indentations dotted the ground, their shape unnatural. Linda's heart pounded. Could Dean have seen these? Had he touched this earth, tried to pry open the secrets it held? She heard a faint whisper carried by the wind, or maybe it was just her imagination, something calling from beneath the ground. Emily tugged her hand. "Mom, what is it?" Linda forced a smile. "Nothing, honey, just old memories." But the unease lingered. The farm was no longer just a home. It was a gateway to something buried deep, something that wanted to stay hidden. As she stood, a sudden chill ran through her, and she noticed something glinting near the edge of the barn, a small, metallic object half buried in the dirt. Linda bent down and picked it up. It was a key, old and worn, with strange symbols etched along its shaft. A key to what? And why had it been left here, waiting for her to find it? The answers were closer than she thought, and the ground beneath their feet was stirring. Unsure of what the key could open, Linda turned to the one person she hoped might help. A retired history professor from the nearby university, Dr. Evelyn Carter. Known for her expertise in ancient symbols and folklore, Evelyn was the kind of person who looked beyond the surface. Driving into town, Linda felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the breakthrough they needed. In Evelyn's cluttered study, surrounded by dusty books and strange artifacts, Linda laid out the key and the story behind it. Evelyn adjusted her glasses, examining the key closely. These symbols, they resemble those found in early Native American carvings, but twisted, almost corrupted. This isn't just a key, it's a warning. Linda's heart raced. A warning? Yes, Evelyn said slowly. The markings are linked to old legends about creatures that dwell beneath the earth, guardians of hidden knowledge, or something far darker. Linda swallowed hard. You mean the message on the phone? They came from under the ground? Evelyn nodded. It fits. These beings were said to be trapped underground, sealed away by ancient peoples. The key might be tied to those seals. A chill ran down Linda's spine. Had Dean unknowingly uncovered a barrier meant to keep something locked away? And had his disappearance been the price? We need to be careful, Evelyn warned. Some doors shouldn't be opened, but if you're determined to find out the truth, you'll need to prepare. Linda nodded, steeling herself. The mystery was deeper and more dangerous than she ever imagined, but she couldn't stop now. Dean's fate, and perhaps much more, depended on it. Back at the farm, the key felt heavy in Linda's hand. Not just metal, but a burden of unseen consequences. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the fields as she approached the old, sealed well. Her breath caught. The locked cover loomed before her, rusted and ancient. The very earth beneath seemed to pulse with a quiet warning. Emily waited by the porch, unaware of the storm gathering beneath her mother's resolve. Linda knelt beside the well, fitting the key into the lock. It turned with an eerie smoothness, as if the mechanism had been waiting for this exact moment. With a heavy creak, the cover shifted, revealing a dark, yawning hole descending into cold silence. Her heart hammered, but she forced herself to peer inside. The faintest glimmer of light revealed rough stone walls, wet and moss-covered. A whisper of cold air escaped the depths, carrying with it a faint, almost imperceptible sound, a distant tapping, or perhaps breathing. Her mind raced back to the phone's message. They came from under the ground. Don't open the... Had she doomed them all by unlocking this door? Steeling her nerves, Linda descended the narrow stone steps, each echoing footfall, drawing her deeper into darkness. At the bottom she found a chamber carved from the earth itself. Strange markings adorned the walls, symbols like those on the key, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, a shadow shifted in the corner. Linda froze. A low, guttural sound filled the chamber, and the air thickened with an ancient, terrible presence. The secret Dean uncovered was no longer hidden. It had been waiting, and now it was awake. Linda's breath hitched as the shadow coalesced into a figure, neither fully human nor beast. Its eyes glowed like embers, and its voice echoed from the depths of the earth. "We were trapped," it rasped, "bound by ancient hands to protect your world from ours. But the key, it frees us." Linda's heart pounded. She remembered Dean's warning, the incomplete message haunting her mind. "Why did he disappear?" she asked, voice trembling. "Did he try to stop this?" The creature's gaze softened, just slightly. "Your father was brave. He sought to seal the door once more, but he was taken before he could finish." Suddenly, Linda understood. Dean hadn't vanished by accident. He was a guardian, caught between worlds. Determined, Linda reached into her pocket and pulled out the phone. "This message, what does it mean?" The creature nodded toward the device. "It was a warning from your father, sent from a future yet to come. Time is fractured here." With trembling hands, Linda scanned the chamber for a mechanism to reseal the door. Hidden beneath moss and stone, she found an ancient lock matching the key's symbols. Inserting the key once more, she turned it slowly, chanting words Evelyn had helped her decipher. The ancient binding spell. A fierce wind surged through the chamber, shadows clawing at the walls, fighting the seal. But Linda held firm, her voice steady with resolve. At last, the light dimmed, the presence receded, and silence returned. Emerging from the depths, Linda felt the weight of years lift from her shoulders. Dean's sacrifice had not been in vain, though the mystery remained buried beneath the earth. She knew the Archer family's legacy was one of courage, love, and a guardian's watchful heart. And as she looked to the horizon, Linda whispered a promise to never forget and to always protect the secrets beneath the ground.